Hey guys, how you doing? jpsarrireviews here. Now, The Clone Wars is a show that so many people love, and not necessarily people that care much about the prequels. A lot of people have some really nice stories to tell about the show. We have seen the growth since the original film came out in 2008, and the 6 prior seasons that definitely had so many different stories, so many great characters. But waiting for over 7 years, close to 7 years, for the final season has been a journey, but definitely, it's something to talk about. So in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to let you know how I feel about this final season. It was worth the wait or not? So in the next couple of minutes, stay tuned. Dig good. First, I need to point out that I think the best part of the show is the cinematics, is just the quality of the video. Of course, this is now, presented in a 4K format, and it looks phenomenal, man. I'm telling you, it looks great. It has never looked so great. I have to remind myself and look back at the original film that came out in 2008, and it was good for what it was. And of course, every season was good for that time. But it's been so long, and in this new age of technology, everything changes so much. I feel that now this season, it's so great. There's so much detail. The graphic fidelity is up there. It's really nice. It's a nice experience to watch. Even some of the fight scenes that you're gonna get to see, they use real choreography. They use people in order to have those fight scenes, particularly at the end, a fight scene between Ahsoka and Darth Maul. Those are the best fight scenes, I would say, in the entirety of Star Wars, even better than some of the movies, some of the most recent films. It is a great duel, lightsaber duel, and it is great. I love the entirety of the design. Not only the graphics are better, the soundtrack in this show, it's amazing. Of course, Kevin Kinner came back and did the soundtrack again. He's been doing the soundtrack for Star Wars and the Clone Wars and Rebels, but my God, the soundtrack in this season particularly is mind-blowing. It's always been. The music in Star Wars is always amazing, but it is so iconic. Besides the cinematics and besides the music that is amazing, I do believe that the best part of this show is the story itself. The fact that it's bringing the prior 6 seasons together, and of course this comes to an end, and it does it so masterfully, in my opinion. It does it well. You see a conclusion to so many things that happen within the show, and of course you see a more mature characters. It's divided into 3 story arcs. The first one is about the Bad Batch, which is a group of clones that have some desirable mutations. They're different than the others. They, one is super big and strong, the other one is super techy. There's one that is a sharpshooter, and of course the leader of the group, who is a great hand-to-hand combat fighter. But they're very different. They're unique. They're and they're very funny. The first story arc is funny. Then in the middle of the story arc is Ahsoka with 2 sisters from Coruscant that live in the underworld, and of course she gets involved into some shady business and dealings with them. But of course you see them also at the reflection of what she's dealing with. Ahsoka's dealing in regards to her feelings towards the Jedi and their stand in the conflict and the world and the galaxy, and how people perceive them and how her perception is there. So you can see a mature Ahsoka, and I really love that part, because ultimately Ahsoka was originally created as pretty much as a tool really to push the narrative of in this case Anakin getting into the dark side. But I would say that in her own right, she became so important to the show. The bad. Now it's time to talk about the bad. Now, I would say the point of contention for me is the fact that even though it's bringing everything is being brought to a crescendo, to an end with this last season, I still feel that there's a lot of unanswered questions or things that were not explored as well. Now, of course, the show was always there, and Ahsoka, for example, was created as a tool. The entire show was a tool to try to explain the events of Order 66, and also the state of mind of Anakin and how he got into the dark side. I do feel that even though they tried as much to push it throughout the different, past seasons, I don't think that they fully were able to explain it. There's a couple of things that at the end kind of don't make sense, because even at the beginning of this season, Anakin is there and he looks like a regular dude, a regular guy, that has, like it's always been. I don't think that he's darker than ever been, and it's hard for you to really pinpoint what is it that broke him to the point that he went to the dark side. It's one of those things it's hard to explain. It's kind of like when you think about comics, when I talk about in this case, the Killing Joke, and people try to always explain that the Joker, a bad day can make anyone mad, and I don't think that that's the case. It's hard to explain it, but at the end of the day, it's something that we already knew. If you already know the prequels, already watched the prequels, you already know that this is going to happen. But definitely, there's some loose ends in that area and those questions, but also in some other characters and some other stories that were actually presented or started at the previous seasons, but ultimately they don't see a finale or a conclusion in this season. So that would be, in my case, something that is worth noting. In conclusion, I can tell you this: I really enjoyed the show. This season, I think, in my opinion, it is a great send-off to the entire show. Just to think the way things started back in 2008 with in this case, the motion picture, and then everything evolved into the show, and how so many characters were introduced, and great characters, some evil characters, villains and heroes and Jedis and Padawans. It's just been good. As a person that loved the comics, in this case, the expanded universe that started with Dark Horse Comics, to me, that was an expansion of it. Yes, they have used this as pretty much kind of clear out some of the stuff in the comics, and this is technically canon now. I do believe that it was great, and of course that the fact that they gave us Ahsoka was a great thing. And of course, Ahsoka is a great character on her own merits. People love her, and I love Ahsoka. My wife does. And to the point that she was even supposed to be part of Battlefront 2 as a skin, as a hero, but they're not gonna do it, and people are disappointed. I'm disappointed because I love Ahsoka. But it's one of those things that you realize that the show evolves so much. And to be honest with you, the last episode is amazing. The last story arc, the last 4 episodes are amazing. But the last episode, the send-off, the finale is just great. You must watch it, And to be honest, it's not long. Every episode is less than 30 minutes. So if I have to give this show a final score, particularly this season, I would say it's a 9 out of 10. Everything else is a nitpick. The fact that there's some loose ends here and there, and some unanswered questions, or not as well explained, but that's has nothing to do with the show. It has to do with the way Lucas films, or in this case, Lucas designed the whole thing from the get-go with the prequels. But ultimately, it's a great send-off to this, and I would love to see a continuation of this at some point. Maybe with the life of Ahsoka, because there is a gap between, in this case, this show and Rebels. I would like to see the aftermath for Ahsoka. But what do you think? Have you watched the last season? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you sad that it's over? Are you happy that it's over? Are you happy that they ended the way they did? Let me know in the comments below. So once again, my friends, thanks for watching. God bless you. Take care, and I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.